Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Real Estate Recess. I am your host, Jennifer Schurter. Today is April 10th, 2025. Can you believe we're already in April? I say this every year at around this time, but I can't believe that it's April. And we have officially started the spring real estate market. So if you're somebody that's watching and paying attention to that, it's here, it's arrived. Last week was an absolute bonkers week, and I think things are heating up. And that is what I want to talk to you about today. Is it a good time to sell? Because we just got the Market Action Report, which is a monthly report that we receive from the RMLS. The RMLS is the MLS system here in the Portland metro area that we use to market properties. So those of us who use that system, they track a lot of data, and they released the monthly Market Action Report from data for data from March of 2025. So that report's always about a month behind. So I'm really excited to get into that because there's some nugget of information in there I think you are going to want to know. But before we dig in and before we get to all that, I just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for watching and listening to me talk about real estate. I love it. I love the data. I love telling the story from the data, and I hope that you get some value from it. And if you do get some value from it, I just ask you this favor right now. Would you mind following me, subscribing to my channel, Living in Portland Suburbs on YouTube, or following me on social media? I'm at Jen Schurter on Instagram, or you can subscribe here, of course, hit the bell to be notified when I have new content. It does help others find my content if you find it useful, if you're able to interact. And of course, leave a comment if something pops up or you want to share your thoughts about what we're talking about today. So without further ado, let's dig in, and we're going to answer the question of, is it a good time to sell right now based on the data and the information that we are going to see from this Market Action Report? So let me share this with you. So every month, around the first part of the month, the RMLS releases this information. So, and it is, just to give you a quick, I guess, primer, for lack of a better term. This is a report. So the Portland Metro to the RMLS is considered to be the counties of Clackamas, Multnomah, Washington, Columbia County, and Yamhill County. So those are the 5 counties that make up this report. They're the ones highlighted here in orange in this little state of Oregon map in the upper left corner. So there's a lot of information on this report, and I definitely don't want to read this to you word for word because it's multiple pages long. But there are some interesting pieces that answer a lot of questions that most people, like you, the average consumer out there, might have about what's going on in the real estate market. So we're going to break down a few of those right now. So first of all, the first thing over here is this inventory in months. That has some history with it. So it goes back to 2023. And as you can see, it's been sitting in 2 and 3 month range for a good amount of time. And over time, it's slowly kind of come up to this 3-month range that we're in right now. What does that mean when we say inventory in months? Well, that means that if all the houses on the market right now were to sell, it would take about, as of today's number, 3 months to sell everything on the market, assuming nothing else came to the market at all. So technically, the old rule that we look to here in the real estate world is that anytime you have 6-ish months of inventory, that's technically considered to be a balanced market. So it's neither a seller's or buyer's market. Anything above 6 months of inventory would be considered a buyer's market, and anything less than 6 months of inventory is considered to be a seller's market. As you can see, going all the way back to 2023, and I can tell you, looking back at data going back to 2020, we've been in a seller's market for a long time. Right now, the feel is we're feeling a lot more like 2019, so pre-COVID era, with our inventory numbers. So right now, as it sits in March of 2025, this data, we have 3 months of inventory. So it's come down a tiny bit from February, from 3.2 months. Okay, so then the other interesting piece of information, and I wish I could zoom in on this. Hopefully you can see it okay. Maybe we'll make this bigger. Let's see. That did not help at all. bear with me. Hopefully you can see this. Hopefully on your side, you can zoom in and look a little bit more closely. But there's this residential trends box right here that shows what's happening from March of 2025 versus February of 2025. So month to month. So looking at the previous month, new listings from February to March of this year are up 38.2%. That is monster. That is a huge number. That is a ton of inventory hitting the market. I will say that it wasn't just an Oregon or a Portland metro region thing that saw that huge jump. I think across the board in the entire United States, we saw a pretty significant increase in inventory. It also shows that month over month, 3.4%. So that could have easily chewed up most of that inventory that came to the market that previously in the month of March. Closed sales are also up 13%. So stuff is really starting to move. So we could easily argue just from the month over month view alone on this data is that boom, we have hit the spring market. It is coming. It's here. People are getting ready to sell their houses. People are getting ready to buy. It is the time. Okay. The other thing on here that I'll point out is that our average and median sale price, so average being the average and the median being the middle, so half or higher, half or lower. There are two measurements that we use to determine kind of where pricing is falling in our market. Both of them are not perfect in a sense. Both figures could be considered to have flaws with them, especially as it relates to a variety of price points. And if you have a broad, like a lot of a particular price point, high, low, medium, whatever it is, it could skew the overall number, whether it's median or average. So just know that, but it is a good way to watch what's happening with trends in the market. So month over month, and I wouldn't get too caught up in this if I were you. It's kind of like watching your 401k every single week or every month. You watch the volatility of the stock market, it's going to freak you out. And I would say the same about this. I would say that average sale price being down 2.6% month over month at this point is not anything really to be too worried about. It's if we see consecutive months where those things are really falling and we don't have any price stability or it doesn't level out, then we might have cause for concern. So that is the month over month residential trends. Now here's where it gets interesting if we start looking at year over year, which is a bigger picture. It has a little bit more historic data for us to look at. And if you look at the information at the bottom there, March of 25 versus March of 24, it is green lights, green all the way on every single thing. New listings are up 10%. Pending sales are up 2.9%. Closed sales are up 2.2%. Average sale price and median sale price are both up 1.2 and 1.3% respectively. Inventory is up 0.7 and our total market time is up 5. It's taking 5 days longer this year than it did last year to sell. So interesting, isn't it, to see this? So what does all of this mean for you as somebody who's out there and asking the question, if this is you sitting on the fence, do I sell my house right now? Is it a good time to sell? Here's what I think is interesting, and here's how I interpret this data, especially this month over month 2025 information, where we go back to February and March of this year. I think that, here's what I see. New listings were up 38.2%. So there was a contingent of sellers in the state of Oregon that said, or in the metro region that said, we're going to sell. This is the time we're going to get this thing on the market. And here they came, 38.2% up. Then we saw buyers. Buyers answered. They said, great, look at this inventory. We love it. 33.4% went pending. So then you think, gosh, we would expect to see a greater number increase in inventory, maybe from February to March. We might have seen it go up instead of down. Well, hold on. Here's where this gets interesting. And this is how I'm seeing this data. I'd love to hear your thoughts if you're watching. March, we have 3 months of inventory. We actually went down a little bit from February to March. So our inventory shrank a small amount. So what these numbers together, if we put all these pieces together into like a little puzzle that's going to show us the market in the Portland metro region, the way that I see this is there's a lot of pent up buyer demand in our market right now. There's a lot of buyers out there who are shopping, they're sitting on the fence, they're waiting for the right property to hit the market. And they haven't been seeing it because the inventory has been pretty abysmal. As an agent who works with buyers, it's been slim pickings. It's been hard for a lot of the folks I'm working with to find properties that fit what they want, that they find to be priced reasonably, that they find to meet the criteria of what they want. So it's been challenging. So then we see the market, the sellers hit the market, they bring the inventory and they say, okay, it's time. We're going to, enter Bruce Banner, the UFC guy. It's time to sell the house. They come out. And the market immediately answers, and they eat up a lot of that inventory that came to the market as a new listing. Is theoretically, and I know there's some nuances to that, but if we think of it from big picture, that's what I see. So sellers, is it a good time to sell right now? Buyers, the echo to that question is it a good time to buy for you? So absolutely. And I'm not just going to say that because, that agent thing, it's always a good time to buy and sell. It's not always a good time to buy and sell. Here's where it would be a good time for you to sell. A, it makes sense for your situation. You've outgrown a property or the property's outgrown you and your needs. That means your needs have grown. Maybe you are a growing family. You need more space. You want to have a hobby farm and you're in town, 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch home on a 6,000 square foot lot just isn't cutting it for those things you want in your life. So it's time to start looking for another option. The second piece to that is if the house or the property's outgrown you and your needs. So you're an empty nester. You've reached a point in your life where, this 3,500 square foot 2-story house for yourself or you and your significant other is just too much. You don't want to clean it. You don't visit half the rooms anymore. And you'd rather not pay the premium to have all this house and the maintenance and cleaning it and heating and all the things that come with it. So in that point, you decide it's time for us to find something more suitable, right size to our current needs. So those criteria are important. So if you meet those two criteria, I think that could be a good indication. The other thing is, does it financially make sense for you? That is always the bottom line. How long have you lived in the property? If you were able to purchase it and have been able to acquire enough equity where it pencils for you to sell the property, and you'll be able to pay all the bills and then some, and then be able to have plenty left over to achieve your next goal, then yes, I would say start working through those numbers. A real estate professional like myself can run something called a CMA, comparative market analysis. That's the industry jargon, right? But we could also call it a home equity review for you, just because it just rolls off the tongue a lot more easily than comparative market analysis. So we can say a home equity review. We say, here are some sales around your property that most closely match your house. And we want to keep it close in space. We want to keep it close in time. And we say, these are very similar houses to yours that sold very recently, and this is what they sold for. And we can compare and contrast your house to those houses. And we can settle on a price that could make sense. And from that sale price that you think is reasonable, we would go from there and say, here's our sales price, and here's all the bills we need to pay. Any real estate agent fee, any improvements you might make to the property, if you have something which can be paid at escrow that comes out of the proceeds, or anything else that comes out of that, your escrow fees themselves. And then we land on the net number at the bottom. And then that's going to tell you, does that feel like sufficient money for you to move on to your next place? So those are all the types of things we can do to determine. So is it a good time to buy or sell? Yes, and meet those criteria that I just discussed. So it could be a good time to sell for you. Absolutely. And if you ever want to chat about that, I'm always open. You can connect with me, leave me a comment, send me a message, whatever. Would love to help you sort those details out for yourself. So that is what we're looking at in the Portland metro region as a whole. But here's something more interesting. This report has a really cool map that shows several areas of the metro. So maybe you're not looking at in Portland specifically, maybe you're in Yamhill County or you're in South Clackamas County like I am, and you want to know what's going on in your little hyper local market regions that the RMLS has. This right here will show you some of those regions that are making up these parts. So here we have like Oregon City, Canby, Molalla, and Beaver Creek are lumped together, for instance, and I can't even read it. It's so small. It's around $580,000 in there for the median sale price. Compare that to a place like Lake Oswego, Westland, and that's about $954,000. So it's a big difference. So when we say real estate's hyper local, that's what we mean. We can't compare certain areas to others. We have to look at as close to that region as possible. Okay, so that is the actual data. So all that being said, oh wait, there's one more thing I wanted to show you guys before we move on. So down here, this is this Portland Metro residential highlights at the bottom, and I apologize, this just isn't as big. It's not showing up as big as I would have hoped it would. It's going to show the average sale price and the median sale price and what that all looks like here. So our median sale price in March of this year was $542,000. And in 2024, it was $535,000. So it's up. It's up a modest amount, but it's not negative. So again, we're going to watch these numbers month over month. And if we consistently see a trend of downward, so not depreciation, but the growth is not happening, we're kind of going backwards, then we would have cause for alarm. I think as we're coming into the spring market, we're going to see some of that is going to level out. And if anything, it might just continue to be modest growth. A lot of the predictions I've heard actually have talked about how on a nationwide level, we're probably going to settle in at around 2%. Those projections, they're about as good as a magic 8-ball, but it's an idea. So I wouldn't call it the written word. I wouldn't go and put that as the end all be all data, but it could be more, it could be less, but figuring around 2% average for the nation might be what we see for the year in appreciation. Okay, so what thoughts do you have about that data? What do you think? Do you think that this market, I would just love to know your thoughts. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you think, good, bad, or ugly. Let's talk. Let's talk about it. Let's bring it to light and have a conversation. So if we're going to get back to the conversation about it being a good time to sell right now, or even a good time to buy. So we just saw the data. You just saw the numbers. You're seeing the modest growth in the market. You're seeing that the spring market is hitting in a big way. Well, the other aspect of that I think is important to consider is that we have interest rates, and granted, the last couple of days have actually not been that great for rates. So our averages are kind of being skewed there. But theoretically, if we can see rates stabilize or maybe slowly kind of tick down a little bit, little by little, it's going to continue to give buyers confidence. We like that as sellers, right? Because we want to feel like the buyers in the market are coming, feeling good about their purchase and ready to go. So that is one aspect. If rates continue to come down, we're going to continue to see more buyers enter the market. Looking at the fact that we had 38% increase in new listings and a 33% increase in pending sales, I think that bodes well for market activity. So if you have a property and you're ready to sell it, how do you best capture those multitudes of people who are shopping for your house or that are waiting for your house or looking for something like your place? There's several things that you can do. We've talked about these before, but to refresh your memory, first of all, curb appeal is exceptionally important. Mow the yard, edge the grass, prune the shrubs in the front, take care of the peeling paint, If your house needs paint, and let's say you have hardy plank siding or that cement fiber type siding, and it's been a while since you've painted your house on the exterior and it's starting to look chalky, you can certainly put it on the market without painting it. But know that a buyer will see that and there will be a dollar sign associated with that in their mind. So if you're looking to charge top of the market price for your property and you're not going to do something like take care of the paint on the exterior, that's fine. Know that you're going to probably come up against that, or it might become a price value mismatch in the eyes of the buyer and the market. So there's pros and cons to anything, but curb appeal is the first impression that anybody's going to get of your property, whether they drive by it and see the sign, they see the real estate media, so the photos and the videos of your property, they're going to see the curb. They're going to look at the curb appeal. What's that going to feel like? You only get one chance to make a good first impression, so make an excellent first impression. Okay, so that's the outside. Then what about the rest of the house? What about the inside? Yes, you have to take care of that too. I would say it's time to declutter and depersonalize. Knickknacks, family photographs, anything that tells a story about who you are as a person or as a family is just safe to say, let's just pack it up. Let's put it away. You're going to be moving anyway. You're not going to want to deal with all that stuff at the last minute. You're not going to want to have to dust all of that stuff when you need to keep your house show ready. In the event that buyers want to come through. So my suggestion is it's easier to just put it away and make it easier on yourself in the process. Less things to clean, less things for people to see, on the off chance that Billy Ray's next door neighbor's cousin who, you had a falling out in third grade is like, oh, look, it's Tim and Sally's house. Those guys, anything like that. Let's just avoid it altogether. Remove any personal effects that tell a story or might show who you are. And clean your house often. And this is one of the things that I do is once my clients are ready for media, we have a professional cleaner come in and we take care of that. They come in and they clean the places you would never think to clean because that matters. I'm talking under the appliances. Yes, your refrigerator. Yes, your range because it's scuzzy in there and nasty. And you never know. Buyers look in weird places. I am a buyer's agent. I've been with buyers. They look in weird places. It also is a place that collects smell, and smell is one of the killers of appeal and first impression to a buyer when they walk into your house. So anything that could have a smell associated with it, tops of cabinets, under furniture, under appliances, let's clean it. So those professional cleaners come in, they clean everything so that it is clean to the nth degree. Then we have media come in after that. So we take the pictures and do all the beautiful things when the house is in pristine condition. So cleaning is important. Any cosmetic things, if you can paint and you've got bright walls or colors that some people might find offensive, then I always suggest painting the walls inside to a more neutral color. It's not feasible for everybody, but paint, I will just say, is one of those things that it's an improvement that has the highest return on investment of all the types of improvements that you can do. So it's absolutely worth doing. You can do it yourself. You'll save some money either way, whether you professionally hire it or you do it yourself. Neutral colors always seem to help put the buyer in a place where they can imagine themselves in your house with their own furniture, with their own personal effects, and see through your style and your taste. We know you have good taste. It's okay. We just need the buyers to feel like they can see themselves with their life in your house. So paint is always important. Anything that's a cosmetic factor, like maybe you've got a big dent or a hole in the wall. I got kids and dogs at home. I get it. Life happens, and your house gets beat up sometimes. Like, there's no judgment from me. I mean, my house, I'll just be real with you. Kids and dogs, and the kids ride skateboard in the house and they scrape the baseboards and dent the wall. It's just a thing, okay? Don't feel bad about it. My suggestion is now's the time, if you're prepping your house for sale, to actually take care of those little things, repair any damage, patch holes, paint, hire professionals where you don't feel competent to do the work for that cosmetic stuff just to get the best possible end result. And that's absolutely will absolutely help. So that's the inside. And then beyond that, get that house ready. And that's no small list of things to do either. If you sat down and made a honey-do list for yourself of here's all the things I need to do to get my house ready, and you listed everything with all the repairs you see, it's not a small list. So you owe yourself some time to do this the right way if you can afford the time to do that. Sometimes you have to sell quick. That's a reality, and I can appreciate that too. But know that sometimes if you can take the time, you're going to get the best possible return for that extra effort. And I will tell you, it does make such a difference. The way your home shows, the way it feels and smells when people walk in really help sell the home. So please don't overlook those things. And I know it's a lot of work. I know you're busy. Life is hard and busy. You work a lot. You have kids. Maybe you're doing all the things. That's where your agent, a good agent, I think I'm a pretty good agent. Good agents are going to say, how can I help delegate this stuff for you? What partners do I have that I can help you bring to the table? If you need an organizer, if you need people to come in and paint or make some repairs, a handyman, that's where the value of your agent is going to come in so that you can do what you need to do and let some of these other things happen. So some food for thought there. So is it a good time to sell for you? We talked about that. There's some criteria to hit. And here's what you need to do to get top dollar, to get those buyers that are just waiting, that tidal wave of buyers that can come in during the spring market and absolutely have the best chance of buying your house as quickly as possible. So you don't have to take my advice, but I've had a pretty good track record of success with it, and I do think that it would help you. And please let me know what your thoughts are in the comments if you think any of this stuff is necessary or if I'm just blowing smoke. I don't think I am. Okay, so buyers, let's talk to you. I didn't forget about you out there. Is it a good time to buy? The situation for you is very similar to the sellers. It has to financially make sense. Is it a good time to buy? Absolutely. And there's an and but type situation here. It has to financially make sense for you. Are you in a position where this is not going to be a burden, but it's going to be a blessing? Meaning you are stable in other areas of your life and you can take this on to where this is going to be an investment in your future, something that's going to help you accumulate wealth over the long term. So that is the first thing. Financially, make sure that your house is in order. And if it isn't, then take the steps and make a plan. It might be a year or 2 or 3 or however long it takes. Having a plan in place to help you get there is going to give you some action steps. And there's no shame if it's going to take a while. There's no shame in calling somebody like me or a lender, a mortgage lender, to talk through your situation and figure out what you need to do. Let's get a plan in place. So first step for you buyers is making sure as we're coming into the spring market, if it's even the right time and your financial house is in order. The second thing I would suggest considering is, are you going to live in this house you're buying for, and it's hard to even say 5 years, but 5 years or more? Anything less than that, I just don't know if our and I don't have a crystal ball. I don't even have that like Toys R Us magic 8-ball to shake and ask what's going on. But my suggestion to you would be, don't put too much faith into the future of where things are going to be in 5 years. I would say if it's 2% a year for a while, that might be what it is for a while. We just don't know. But assuming that's the worst case scenario or flat, in 3 to 5 years, will you have accumulated enough equity that if you go to sell your property, and by the time you pay all the bills of selling to then do what you want to do with the property or the funds next, you're actually going to have the money to do that? Is it going to pass the napkin test, as somebody would say? If you wrote all the numbers on the napkin and said, I've got this much money now, I've acquired this much equity, is that enough? And so if you're not going to live in that house for at least 5 years, then I would reconsider buying. If you think you're going to be moving out of state or something, then, I would say you're probably better off saving your money and just kind of figuring out where your life's going to take you. life happens. And sometimes in 3 years, you've got to do the job relocation. You got to go somewhere to take care of family. That just happens. And in that case, obviously, we cross those bridges when we get there. But I will say, if you're planning ahead and you're thinking, okay, I might be here in 5 years, it should be yeah, we're going to be here in 5 years. We're putting roots here. We're establishing our lives. This is what it's going to be. So those two things are very, very important. And I would absolutely consider those things. This home needs to be a blessing and not a burden. So definitely consider that financial aspect first. So buyers, that's how you know. And I think as more inventory comes to the market, more inventory is going to give you more options. So it's good for a lot of reasons, not just for sellers, but it's good for you too. We like to see the inventory because you have choices, you have things to look at and get excited about. And it is competition. And competition is a good thing for everybody in these cases. It cannot be so in the pocket of one side that forever. It never bodes well for everybody at that point. Okay, so there you have it. I've just rambled on for 30 minutes about the market action report, buyers and sellers, if it's a good time, what you need to do to prepare yourselves. Let me know what you think in the comments. I would love to chat with you and hear your thoughts. But otherwise, thanks for tuning in today. I'm Jennifer Schurter. I'm your local real estate expert for the Portland metro suburbs and the North Willamette Valley, including Clackamas County, cities like Canby, Oregon City, Wilsonville. Those are my stomping grounds. I live here. I love it. And if you're thinking about making a move here, I hope you will look me up. I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. But otherwise, until next Thursday, I will see you next week for yet another episode of Real Estate Research.